Thank you for joining us on this show. Today I have as a guest Virginie Bourdin, who you might have already seen on a show with Ian Fales, but we're talking about different stuff. So hopefully we will not bore you. Virginie is a VFX production design concept artist, and she has a long experience working as an art director as well. So I'm going to start with a fun fact. You know, this show is all about figuring out, how we can make this industry more equal, and we're focusing on the role of women in the industry for this year. So I've had other women on the show, and we'll talk about that later. I'll tell you some of the things they said, and you can give me your opinion on that. But Virginie, for those who don't know, was the first person, I'm not going to even say woman, to create a VFX art department, like very specific VFX art department at MPC in London. So, the fact that she's a woman just makes it cooler. Since we were talking about, yeah, it's that easy. The thing is, we were talking on the show about how there are very few women in creative leading positions, and here we've got one, and she was not just, in a leading position, she created that position for herself. So how did that happen?
Well, I just say, hey, I think this is what you're missing here. I was totally, as I said, the first interview, ignorant, and they needed someone to come up with very fast pieces of concept, and the word speed drawing at the time was not really used. Also, there was already Good Brush, this website that everyone took as a reference. So it was already there in the landscape, and I kind of produce certain pieces like that because they needed quick variation of ideas. And I saw that they had no one to do that in a permanent job, and they were really wanting it. I mean, really, there was a
needing
it. So that's it. I just said, hey, there's something here that we could do. And it took a bit of time, and they said, oh, yeah, do it. I think it was simple, Yeah.
Okay, because you came up with the idea, so they probably thought she knows what she's talking about, and maybe they hadn't even understood it completely yet, so they were like, just do it, and then we'll figure it out.
I don't know what happened in their head, but surely it was just to produce more pieces of concept, but that was not yet about creating an art department. That was their ideas, and I just, because after getting a pitch where the director approached me and Adam Valdez, the VFX supervisor, to come on his team. When they call me back, say, have you finished your movie? Can you come back at MPC? And they basically proposed for me to work on Narnia 2 and to create an art department because there was so much to be designed as VFX pieces. Also, no one had an idea on which form it should take. So at first it was me, and then eventually I had, along the go, other artists helping me that I was, catching.
You kind of directed them, so you.
Yeah. Well, basically, I tried to find what is the best form of an art department. I knew there was ILM. I knew that there was Weta. I know no one. So basically, I just started to be pragmatic and ask the supervisor of MPC what do they need. And based on what they told me, say, well, I'm going to answer your needs. And luckily, because I did not know so many people in London, and there was concept artists working for pre-production side, but they were feeding the needs of a production designer, which is slightly different, where in VFX, somehow we needed to be more realistic, to produce pieces, to communicate clearly an idea, and eventually serve as a piece almost of, let's call it contract, so you can bid better, and you can, there's no confusion of wrong interpretation. So VFX supervisor, directors, production producers can really speak precisely of what they want and how they would achieve it. So I basically came up with doing very realistic pieces of concept art and get sneaky on the other department, say, this guy draws well, I
Why
like
don't you
him. and start knowing all the producers of each, there was no department at the time, but of the shows. Can I get him? Can I get him? And eventually I got, when I was pushed away to work on Golden Compass by the client, when I came, they had Olivier Pron, the concept artist who now is known for having worked with the sisters Wachowski on Cloud Atlas and many world building, and also Doctor Strange, Guardian of the Galaxy, so big world building. Olivier was there, and he was my first handwrite man. And the guy taught me more than else, you know. But eventually he got his own art department, so I got his best mate and come here. And eventually, Alberto Mielgo, we worked, can you come back? And that was basically with the little knowledge I had. I was poaching within MPC, asset departments, compositing, whoever has the skill and the vision, and also other artists I was starting to learn or to meet. Can you come?
It's very interesting because it sounds like, it's not like you were looking for an opportunity and couldn't find one, so had to create one. It was a very natural process for you, but you're mentioning a lot of male colleagues' names, and you're talking about how they were very supportive of you. So, I mean, one complaint that women often have in the industry, in all industries, but we're focusing on the art one, is that, it's hard to break into that male-dominated environment, and it's hard to get your voice heard. And if you're in an office in a meeting and you're talking, there's studies that say that men will, more likely to interrupt a woman and listen to her less. But you sound like you managed to get your voice heard and support from your colleagues.
So I'm not big on that subject because for me, I'm just really pragmatic. And we can come up with how many women I've hired, for example, after that question. But sorry, what was it difficult or?
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of colleagues supporting you.
I know. Yeah, it's basically I wasn't good expressing myself in English anyway, so. They were talking so fast when you have producer, client, blah, 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 blah. And in the English way, you have to cut almost the speech. Is like, for me as French, it was so impolite. So I was actually shutting up. But the way I found my voice is I created artworks and mood panels. Mood panels were made like a question. So each mood panel was a question to the VFX supervisor, directors, or whatsoever. And whoever, well, it's very bad to say that. And basically, the drawings or the mood boards or the material was enough strong that people wanted to
hear what you had to say.
Exactly, and to take it in account and talk about it, and then comes back to me.
So you do think it was, I mean, in your case, it definitely was, but you think it is quite meritocratic, like the society, like if you're doing good at your job, people will see it and they will help you no matter if you're a man or a woman? To
be frank, and again, I'm so far away from all that talk because it's really about, do you have the right skills and the right sensitivity to work on a project, male or female? I don't care. Do you do the job? Are you the right connection for the vision of the director? And if there's more women, brilliant. I'm not looking at it. And I never, we can talk about that later. Eventually there would be bits and bobs even, but I didn't pay attention to it. So I keep losing the course of my ideas here.
It's okay, it's a tough topic.
That's it, it's like,
But it's okay, we can, I mean, in your experience, you had supportive colleagues and stuff, and you managed to get your voice heard through your work. So that's, already something. But you were mentioning just a while ago about how many women you hired. You said I can ask you, so I'll ask you. How many women did you hire?
Not a lot. And it's not that I didn't look at, is, you know, you basically go so fast, you work a lot, there's so many projects, and you don't have so much time to find the person, so you're not focused, I now want a woman. You basically find the one around, or the one that have applied to a job at the time you need it. And there was someone in the matte painting department that had the quality, technical and sensible quality for what we needed. So we had a great work with her on Prince of Persia. There was, after recently, Silvia Bartoli, that I got on one of the big major movie, because she has the technical skill and she had also all the credential to reassure producers that she could do the job coming right at the end of the production and be the person. So
you think there are opportunities? It's about seeking them out.
I think we have to consider that when we started, there was not yet a lot of women, first of all, who had the skill set that was required for what we needed in concept art. I met many women at MPC, dispatched in many departments, but I never saw many women voicing them out. Oh, I've done that. I'm good. There's eventually an inner quietness that I've observed among these women. So, you know, what I've witnessed is men fighting for themselves, saying, I want that position. I'm going to get it. And making the step and making them voice heard for that.
Well, that's interesting, because yesterday I had Cynthia Shepard and a young artist called Nana Lee on this show. And after the show, we realized we had so many topics we still wanted to talk about, but we'd run out of time. And one thing that we were discussing, and they were making present to me as I'm not an artist, is how women often tend to have more self-doubt, because not of the art industry, because of society in general, the way we are brought up. Women are less confident, and they were saying, you know, talk about that with the next speaker, and you're the next speaker, so you can thank them. But yeah, the idea is, do you think it's a lack of confidence in women that comes from the society we've lived in all these years? Because, you know.
Maybe I'm not a sociologist, frankly, so who am I to speak about that? Okay, to my experience, the only thing I can talk is my experience. I never brought the subject of female-male in the work. I actually didn't feature female clothes because I come from a family of artists. I grew up within that. I was obsessed and passionate by my work, and that was my only focus. But I knew that I had so much background in it that I have enough to offer. So I maybe was naturally confident of my knowledge, skill set acquired from so little, and encountering that others just, you know, fell in love with their job, but didn't have the legacy that I had. So obviously, naturally, I didn't have to feel, you know, oh, I don't know. No, I did know, and I could easily talk with, you know, all art current and other techniques because I experienced them, and I went to school for them, and I talked already with many people about it. So I was already kind of mastering a part of my subject when I enter in that industry. So I would not have had a lack of confidence. Surely a lack of confidence of how to express myself in English.
Yeah, I think it's more that.
Yeah, a lack of confidence of, at the time, being intimidated by people who knew what they were talking about, VFX, and I didn't. I was ignorant. And I took my time to build on that confidence. Also
because your background was animation and graphic designing, right?
Graphic design, animation, but not as an animator, but yeah, stop motion movies and background illustration. So yeah, And also because I only express myself on what I know, and what I don't know, I just kind of shut up.
But do you feel like since you entered the industry, it's been a while now, till today, like something has changed? Like, do you notice a stronger female presence? I mean, at the tribe here,
obviously,
there's so many.
obviously,
Yeah?
there's so many women now, and also what is interesting is I've been in, giving little days during each year for more than 18 years in schools. And what I noticed, which I can't comprehend actually, is even before then, they would have like promotion in animation with many women and few men in that year. And still you couldn't find them so much in the VFX world, but you would eventually find them in the animation world. So there's, and when you could see from the student is their way of expressing their creation was more tender or fantastic. They had, if we talk about quantity, different aim or different center of interest that naturally lead them not to VFX, but to animation world. So maybe it would be interesting. I know that in France they have like big governmental study about male, female track record in the animation field, and what happened with them as they grow as professional and they become mom, and are they returning, and etc. etc. So they have data, they have like survey for many years. They would be the right people to answer. But what I observe is a natural incline to go to more illustration land, other field where they can express their, and I don't want to be reductive here, are plastic more tender way of expression. What I was seeing through the student is like they would always work with texture, and it's more physical and it's more colorful, and that they create way more risk, way more experimentation, where the male, they wanted to achieve mastery at first. The female wanted to express, the male wanted to be the best.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So what does it goes and lands in the VFX world is the female I encounter, which at the beginning there was one or two in that department and one or two at the quite well, there are few animators, some texture artists, even programmers, and you had a bit of everything. And but there were strong, independent female, and they were not ganging as much as the colleagues male. But that's what only I observed. Coming out with a rule or what or why, it's a bit pretentious for me to say.
No, but it's interesting, your observation, because you work in the industry and we're trying to analyze it from the outside.
No, there's plenty. There's plenty of female, way more. And there's texture, let's see texture. Female lead at MPC, for example, Rebecca Melander. She had a beautiful career. But yeah, it's a combination.
People sometimes, and we were talking about this yesterday with Cynthia as well, because she was like, I like to draw blood and gore and stuff, and people don't expect that because you're a woman. So,
well, because she creates surely for her a visual culture that she likes that is not characteristic of what we think that a female should do.
Exactly.
And it's fine.
So do you think that in this sense, art can also be a vehicle to break prejudices on, on gender in general?
Look, I think our society is ruled by stereotype, and more it become global, more we have to use stereotype in order to understand each other, more, stereotype and symbols you have at every level that is like even personal, your family, your group, ethnic group, your country. And when you talk to the world and you do, global entertainment, that's where you are almost forced to reduce your communication. So we talk to everyone. And then you use stereotype, and we are fed by stereotypes. So obviously, you are a product of our society. How can you escape that? You need to educate yourself and make choice for yourself, not being just consumers.
And do you think experiences like THU, where there's, it's a melting pot, we're on this island and we have 1,000 creatives from all over the world, male and female, is something that could help young artists grow professionally as well? Because do you feel like...
Obviously.
Yeah.
What I felt is a very protective environment for artists, where you've got workshops that push the artists to express themselves. One led by Nadezhda Kuzmina, for example, so where there's a place where they can talk. But there are a lot of other events where it ends up on panel, and we're not going to talk about this one. We just talked before, but it's basically, I've seen in many events, it ends up like a psychotherapy for young artists, because they wonder how they are going to break through. Is it because I'm a woman or a male? Well, I never looked at that way. The way I looked at, am I good for what they need? Am I not the best, because I'm not in that pursuit, but am I excellent for my taste to do the work? So it's my pursuit of excellence, and or be proud of what's coming out. It's very difficult for me to be proud. It's almost impossible to be proud. But as much as I can.
Are you one of those who looks back at her work and never likes it?
Obviously. But I would love the moment and the experience of having done it with the people or with the supervisor, or it's more the experience, yeah.
And there's a lot of young artists who are probably watching us from home as well, who couldn't make it here. Do you have any advice for them? Male or female, gender equal advice.
Gender equal advice. Well, I mean, when the problem comes that way, like maybe you'll have later prejudice for male, because one just to finish, there was a time where all the script that we received when I was, doing art department at MPC, was all the villains were female, all. And I was like, come on. And now all the heroes are female. So maybe we're going to change. And after you're going to have prejudice for the men, nobody wants to hire me. Well, I think even if people come with prejudice, is not paying attention to it, not giving food to it, then eventually the prejudice will pass away. And people are going then to look at you not for the gender relating, even if they had the intention, but for what you can deliver as professional, as artist, as someone who has a voice, basically.
Yeah, we were saying on this show that the idea is not to force people to hire women, because they need to show they have talent, and you hire whoever's got the best, who can deliver the best. So the idea is that, and we hope that at home it's not just women watching us, but people.
And it's not just the best; is the one that has the right sensitivity for the story, for the vision of a director, VFX supervisor, of a production designer. You try to align sensitivity. People that have. They can see the same movie and the same story.
Okay.
That's not gender related.
Thank you very much. You were afraid we wouldn't make it through the talk, but we've been here for 25 minutes.
27, 26.
So me and her are going to carry on the conversation outside. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again shortly. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.